NBA players are some of the highest paid athletes on the planet, and when you are making $30, $40, $50 million a season before endorsements, you do not buy a watch, you buy a statement. A wearable argument for why you belong in a room full of people who do not need to check the price of anything. These are the most expensive watches owned by NBA stars. Ranked. With the stories behind why these specific players chose these specific pieces, because the watch always tells you something about the person wearing it. Number 10. Trae Young. Rolex GMT Master 2 Coke approximate value, $35,000 to $40,000. Start with Trae Young, because his watch story is one of the most interesting origin stories in the NBA. He has said in interviews that he grew up obsessing over the watches he saw on NBA players' wrists, specifically pointing to Chris Paul as an early inspiration. He would study the timepieces the way most young players study shooting form. He became a TTiS&x ambassador early in his career, which is where he says he really developed his understanding of what watch styles suited him. By the time he was an all-star, he had graduated to Hublot, Cartier, and Rolex. The piece that catches the most attention is his GMT Master 2 Coke, the nickname referring to the black and red bezel that matches the colors of the original Coca-Cola branding. The GMT Master 2 is one of Rolex's most coveted references. The Coke variant specifically has a secondary time zone function and a bezel insert that rotates to track a third time zone. For a player who grew up studying other players' watches, owning a GMT, a watch designed for people who are always moving between time zones, feels intentional. Number 9. Nikola Jokic. Rolex GMT Master 2 Batgirl approximate value, $35,000 to $45,000. Two-time MVP. Three-time MVP. Best player in the world. And one of the more understated watch collections in the league, which makes complete sense if you have ever watched Nikola Jokic conduct a post-game interview. He is not interested in performing for anyone. His watch reflects that. The Batgirl, officially the GMT Master 2 Ref. 126710BLNR, gets its nickname from the black and blue bezel that Dark Knights wear in the comics. It is one of the most coveted Rolex references in recent years, frequently selling above retail on the secondary market because supply simply cannot meet demand. Jokic wears it without fanfare. It is the watch equivalent of his basketball game, technically extraordinary, completely unbothered about being recognized as such. He reportedly also gifted Rolex Cosmograph Daytonas to his Serbian national teammates after their 2024 Olympic bronze medal performance, which tells you everything about how he views timepieces, not as status symbols, as gifts worth giving. Number 8. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Breitling Chronomat GMT Giannis Edition approximate value, $10,000. But this one is different. Before Giannis was the Greek Freak. Before he was a two-time MVP and NBA champion, he was a teenager in Athens selling watches and sunglasses on the street to help his family survive. He has spoken about this period of his life openly, hawking timepieces on the streets of Greece before he ever owned one worth owning. That backstory makes his Breitling ambassadorship one of the most personally resonant partnerships in professional sports. He co-designed two versions of the Chronomat with Breitling, a 40mm steel GMT and a 42mm gold chronograph. Both feature his GA initials on the central hand, a basketball emblem in the chronograph counter, and a green dial paying tribute to his Milwaukee Bucks. The specific dollar value matters less here than what the watch represents. A man who used to sell watches now has one designed with his initials on it. The arc from Athens to that partnership is its own story worth telling. Number 7. Luca Doni. Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Double Balance Wheel Open-Worked approximate value, $75,000 to $150,000. Luca's off-court style tends toward the relaxed and unfussy, which makes his watch collection the place where his actual taste reveals itself. He gravitates toward Audemars Piguet's Royal Oak, specifically the more technically complex variants that show the movement through an open-worked dial. The double balance wheel open-worked is exactly what the name suggests, a dial that has been largely removed to expose the movement underneath, featuring a double balance wheel mechanism that improves regulation accuracy. The case is 41mm in yellow gold. The visual effect is genuinely extraordinary. Holding it up to the light shows layers of mechanical architecture operating behind what appears to be an absence of dial. For a player whose offensive game is built around making the extraordinarily complex look effortless, it is a fitting choice. Number 6. Jason Tatum. Richard Mille RM0701 Colored Ceramics Approximate Value, $150,000 to $200,000. Jason Tatum's watch collection has been developing into one of the most interesting in the league. He collects across Rolex, AP, and Patek Philippe, but the piece that watch enthusiasts keep noting is the Richard Mille RM0701 from the Colored Ceramics collection. Richard Mille occupies a specific position in the luxury watch world: aggressively technical, aggressively modern, aggressively priced. The RM0701 Colored Ceramics range features cases made from a ceramic compound that produces pastel tones, pale blue, soft pink, light gray, in a material harder than most metals. The combination of the delicate visual impression and the industrial material reality is the point. Tatum's choice to wear a pastel ceramic Richard Mille signals something about how he approaches luxury, not the obvious choice, not the expected statement, but the technically sophisticated option that rewards closer examination. Number 5. Stephen Curry. Cartier Santos Skeleton in Rose Gold Approximate Value, $63,500. The Cartier Santos is one of the oldest purpose-designed wristwatches in history, originally created in 1904 for aviator Alberto Santos Dumont, who needed to tell time without taking his hands off the controls. The skeleton version takes the iconic square case and removes as much of the dial as structurally possible, leaving the movement exposed through a mesh of bridges and plates. Curry's collection is notably cohesive. He gravitates toward rose gold and pink gold pieces across multiple brands, giving his watch wardrobe a specific warmth and tonality. The Cartier Santos Skeleton in rose gold fits that aesthetic perfectly. It is a watch with deep historical roots. The Santos design is over a century old, interpreted through the most technically demanding finishing process a watchmaker can apply. For a player who has reimagined what a shooter looks like in the modern NBA, wearing a watch that reimagines one of the oldest wristwatch designs feels appropriately on brand. Number 4. Kevin Durant. Patek Philippe Nautilus Approximate Value, $100,000 to $200,000 depending on reference. KD's watch collection is built primarily on Rolex. The Day-Date 2 is a staple. The Daytona in steel with a black ceramic bezel has been spotted. But the piece that places him in the conversation about serious collectors is the Patek Philippe Nautilus. The Nautilus is arguably the most coveted watch in the world right now, a steel sports watch designed by Gerald Genta in 1976 that has appreciated so dramatically it regularly sells on the secondary market for multiples of its retail price. The porthole-inspired case, the integrated bracelet, the horizontal lines of the dial, it is one of the most recognizable references in horology. For Durant to have one in his rotation signals that his watch knowledge extends beyond brand recognition into the specific literacy of knowing which references matter and why. Number 3. LeBron James. Patek Philippe Grande Complication Celestial 6102R Approximate Value, $380,000 to $480,000. LeBron's collection is its own museum. Audemars Piguet made him an ambassador and produced a limited edition Royal Oak offshore in his honor. Richard Mille pieces in red quartz, rose gold, and blue TPT quartz rotate through his wrist depending on the occasion. But the piece that stops conversations is the Patek Philippe Grande Complication Celestial 6102R. The Celestial is not a watch in the conventional sense. It tracks stars as viewed from the northern hemisphere. The dial features a sky chart, the Milky Way rendered in transparent sapphire crystal, and moon phases displayed on a black sapphire disc. The movement underneath is among the most complex Patek Philippe has ever produced, a self-winding caliber that powers astronomical indications most watchmakers would not attempt. The market price sits between $380,000 and $480,000. LeBron wore it to the UEFA Champions League final in London. Of all the places to wear a watch that tracks star positions from the Northern Hemisphere, a European football stadium on a clear night is among the more poetic choices. Number 2. LeBron James. Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Concept Black Panther Flying Tourbillon Approximate Value, $1 million plus. Yes, LeBron appears twice. His collection is genuinely that extraordinary. The Royal Oak Concept Black Panther Flying Tourbillon was produced in collaboration between Audemars Piguet and Marvel Studios. The dial features an 18-karat white gold, hand-painted three-dimensional Black Panther figure. Not printed, hand-painted. within a case that houses a flying tourbillon movement. The tourbillon itself is suspended in the movement rather than supported from below, which produces the floating visual effect that gives the flying tourbillon its name. Audemars Piguet produced a limited number of these. LeBron owns one. The Patek Philippe tracks the stars. This one has a superhero on the dial that costs more than most houses. Both feel correct for a collection of this scale. Number 1. LeBron James. Patek Philippe Tiffany Blue Nautilus 57111A value at auction, $6,500,000 plus. In 2021, Patek Philippe discontinued the stainless steel Nautilus 5711, the reference that had become the most sought-after watch in the world. As a farewell, they produced a final run in collaboration with Tiffany & Co., featuring an extraordinary Tiffany blue dial, limited to 170 pieces. One of those 170 went to auction at Philips in December 2021 and sold for $6.5 million, approximately 50 times its retail price, setting a world record for this reference. LeBron James owns one. The Tiffany Blue Nautilus is not just an expensive watch. It is the moment the watch world demonstrated that demand for certain references had entered territory that luxury economics cannot fully explain. It is a steel watch with a teal dial worth more than most professional athletes' contracts. The fact that LeBron James has one in his collection is either the most logical conclusion to a career of accumulating extraordinary things, or confirmation that his collection belongs in a different category from everyone else on this list. Both are true. The wrist always tells the story. And in the NBA, nobody is telling a more expensive story than LeBron James.